At 16, my dad disowned me for my brother's lie. "You're a disgrace," he yelled. 2 weeks later, his pride shattered when he found out the truth. You ever have someone look you dead in the eyes and treat you like you're disposable? I was 16 when my dad screamed, "You're a disgrace." 2 weeks later, he found out the truth, and his entire world cracked like the frame he thought I broke. If you've ever been blamed for something you didn't do, if you've ever wished someone who mistreated you would finally face the truth, hit that like button. Because this is the story of how I stopped being my family's punching bag and watched their pride crumble in front of me. I used to think family was supposed to protect you. That's what they tell you when you're a kid, right? Family is your safe place, your team, your backbone. But for me, my family felt more like a courtroom where I was always the defendant, and the judge already hated me. My older brother Alex, 2 years older, was the golden child. Smart, charming, manipulative enough to convince a brick wall it was guilty of something. Everyone adored him, especially my dad. And me? I was the quiet one. The kid who stayed in his room, did his homework, didn't want problems. But in a house like mine, staying quiet didn't keep you safe. It just made you easier to blame. Anytime something went wrong, a broken plate, missing money, a dent in Dad's car, Alex would tilt his head, widen his eyes, and say, "Dad, I'm not saying it was Ethan, but..." That "but" was the death sentence. The worst part? My dad never asked questions, never looked at evidence, never listened. His face would tighten, his jaw would clench, and he'd snap. "Why can't you be more like your brother?" My mom wasn't much better. She'd just sigh and say the same thing every time. "Just ignore him, Ethan. Be the bigger person." I was 16. I didn't even feel like a person. It happened on a Thursday evening. I remember because the house smelled like burnt lasagna, my mom's attempt at a new recipe. I was in my room doing homework when I heard the crash, a loud glassy explosion from the hallway. I opened the door and saw the family portrait, the expensive one we took at some studio, shattered on the floor. Before I could even blink, Alex was there, eyes wide, hand dramatically over his mouth like he was in some bad soap opera. "Ethan, what did you do?" I stared at him, stunned. I wasn't even out here, but he was already yelling for Dad. My dad stormed up the stairs so fast I swear the house shook. His face was red. That scary red that told you he'd already made up his mind. "You broke this?" he shouted. "No, Dad, I didn't even touch. Enough." He was inches from my face. "You're a disgrace to this family." Disgrace. He spat the word like it tasted dirty in his mouth. I felt something inside me collapse. Not like anger, more like realizing you're nothing, disposable, unwanted. He grounded me for a month, took away my phone, told me he was done giving me chances, as if I'd ever been given one. And Alex, God. He stood behind Dad, smirking. It was tiny, almost invisible, but I saw it. That smirk burned itself into my mind. 2 days later, it was raining, that heavy, angry kind of rain that pounds the house like it wants in. Like I was supposed to be in my room reflecting on my behavior, but I stepped out to get water. And that's when I heard it. Alex, in his room, on the phone, laughing. Not normal laughing, the bragging kind. Dude, it was hilarious. He didn't even touch the frame. I just nudged it off the nail when he wasn't around. And Dad believed it instantly. He always does. He's so desperate for me to be perfect. It's pathetic. I froze. My body went cold. My hands shook. He framed me, again. But this time, I heard it with my own ears, and he wasn't sorry. He was proud. Something snapped inside me. Not anger, clarity. Pure, terrifying clarity. This house was never going to be safe, no matter how good I was, no matter how hard I tried. My existence was convenient for them, a trash bin for blame. So I left. I grabbed a jacket, slipped out the back door, and walked into the storm. The rain soaked me instantly, cold, heavy, relentless. But for the first time in years, I could breathe. I walked for hours, no direction, no plan, just distance from them. I stayed in a youth shelter for 2 weeks, scared, lonely, but free. Eventually, I had to go back for my things. I wasn't planning on confronting anyone. I just wanted my clothes and my school stuff. When I walked into the house, the air felt different, tense, like everyone inside had stopped breathing but didn't know how to start again. My dad was sitting at the dining table, elbows on his knees, head in his hands. My mom looked pale, almost sick. And Alex, his confidence, his usual smug glow, was gone. "Ethan," Dad said quietly, "sit." His voice didn't sound like him. It wasn't angry, just hollow. Apparently Alex's lies had finally caught up with him. Not because of guilt, not because of some moral awakening. No, he messed up. He tried to cheat on a school exam, emailed someone claiming he was too important to fail, and the school found previous suspicious behavior tied to him. They dug deeper. Teachers came forward. Old grading inconsistencies surfaced. My parents were called in. Suddenly, their golden boy's halo wasn't just crooked, it was falling apart. My dad looked at me with this lost expression. "Why didn't you tell us?" His voice cracked. I laughed, not because it was funny, because it was so absurd I couldn't stop myself. "I did tell you every time. You just didn't care." My mom whispered, "We didn't know, and that was the real problem. They didn't want to know. They wanted Alex to be perfect, and me to be expendable. So I told them everything, every lie, every punishment, every time they chose him over truth." Alex tried to interrupt, but my dad shut him down for the first time in his life. For a moment, silence. Then Dad said the words I had fantasized about hearing my entire childhood. "Ethan, I'm sorry," but it didn't feel good. Not even a little. It felt too late, too broken. They begged me to stay home, promised things would be different, but promises from people who only believe you when it's convenient. I didn't trust them anymore. I moved into a group home, got therapy, made friends, rebuilt myself. But the real closure came a few months later. Remember how Alex's academic fraud came to light? Well, I had proof. Screenshots from his laptop he'd forgotten to log out of at home. Emails, cheat sheets, an entire folder labeled shortcuts. I didn't release it to destroy him. I released it because the investigators asked for anything relevant, and for once I told the truth and people listened. Alex was expelled, his scholarship revoked, his reputation shattered. My dad tried to blame the school. My mom tried to pretend it wasn't so bad. Alex said it was my fault, that I ruined his life. But here's the truth. I didn't ruin anything. I just stopped protecting him from the consequences he worked so hard to earn. Standing there, watching the fallout, I didn't feel victorious. I just felt free. Sometimes revenge isn't an explosion. Sometimes it's a quiet moment where you realize they can't hurt you anymore. When the school's academic integrity board read Alex's emails aloud, the arrogance, the manipulation, the entitlement, my dad's face drained of color. He looked over at me with the same eyes he once used to yell, "You're a disgrace." But this time, the shame wasn't mine. Alex stormed out of the room. My mom cried. My dad stared at the table like it could erase the truth. And me, I walked out feeling lighter than I had in years. I didn't need their apology. I didn't need their approval. My revenge wasn't watching Alex fall. My revenge was building a life where his lies couldn't touch me anymore. Sometimes the people who are supposed to love you the most are the ones who underestimate you the hardest. But here's the thing. You don't owe them your silence. You don't owe them your forgiveness. You owe yourself peace, even if it means walking away. If this story hit home for you, smash that like button. Tell me in the comments, have you ever been blamed for something you didn't do? And if you want more stories where karma finally catches up, make sure you subscribe. You don't want to miss what's coming next.